Okay guys, with our application we have a delete ability, and what we want to do is make it so we can check it off if it's completed. And to do that, let's start with opening NetBeans and going to the API controller. And on the list, let's look for update to do. And it's already posting a to-do ID, or at least it's set up. I'm going to duplicate that line with Control Shift down, and I'm going to call this completed, and we're going to post whether it's completed. So we'll say this db where, and in here I'll say we make an array to do ID equals to do ID, and then this db update, and in here we'll say completed equals completed. Okay, and let's say this db affected rows, and I'm going to search for that because I often get this wrong. Yep, that's it. So back to the update to do, and we're going to return the output. So I'll just copy one of these and paste. So I'll say result equals how many affected rows, and we'll say if result return false, otherwise nothing was updated, return false. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead to our public JS junior dash dashboard and our template, and let's look for the to-do object right here, and I'm going to make a little thing on here that says complete. So I'll just say output plus equals ahref goes to nowhere right now, and I'll just say complete. And what we have to do is we have to pass the ID, so I'll say data ID equals object dot to do ID. Now we could get the ID from the parent here through jQuery, but I'm going to keep it in the link. And then what we also want is the completed status, and I'll say data completed equals plus. Actually, I'll just put a 1 in here for now. Okay. So let me close this little navigator, and I'll go ahead and refresh the page to make sure it appears correctly. Okay. And those are kind of close together. It doesn't look too pretty. We'll fix it up later. And let's give this a class. So I'll say class equals to do delete. Next, we're going to get to do delete triggered in our events. So update to do is what we're going to look for. I kind of want my navigator open again, and I'll go to update to do, and this is triggered when dot to do delete is clicked. Oops. On click to do delete function E. Now I need to change this just to body because previously we had some problems with that, and I'll say prevent default, and I'm going to say this dot attribute data dash completed, and this dot attribute data slash ID. Okay, and what we're going to do is say var post data equals an object, and we'll just wrap these two in here, get rid of the semicolons, and for this I'll say ID and completed. Okay, then we do a JSON post dot post We're going to need a URL, but I'll get to that. So we'll say post data, the function of O, and we'll pass this as JSON. So for the URL, let me check if we have it in the template. Okay, so for the href, we could just put it in here so it's consistent with everything else. So I'll say API slash update to do. Okay, and var URL equals this dot attribute href. Okay, and let's see what we did for our other ones. O.result. So if O.result equals 1, else result.error, nothing updated. And if it's a success, we'll just say save. Okay, so now is a good time to check if it actually worked. So I'll open up my console with Control-Shift-C and my network tab, refresh. Well, actually it should give us a result, so I'll click complete. And let's see, update to do problem. You must use the set method to update an entry. So I had something wrong with my query. So go back to api.php. It looks like I didn't give it a table name. So I'll put to do. And try again. Complete. It says error. Result 0. So nothing updated. And if we look in our database, I'll refresh, completed is 0. So let's investigate the headers and see what we posted. So we posted to do ID of 33, but completed did not get posted, it looks like. So I'll take my little magnifier and inspect this. Data dash completed equals 1. Let's make sure we're getting that in the event.js. Data dash completed. Little debugging time. Console.log post data. Let's see what that gives us. Refresh, and in the console, complete. And we are passing this. And in our network tab, form data is still showing to do ID only, which is really strange. So let's go a little bit further and do some debugging, and I will echo out completed. I will also echo out to do ID, and I'll echo out a /n for a new line, but I don't think that's going to appear in the console. So completed, and go to network, update to do, and the response 33. So somewhere it's not getting passed, and it's something obvious I'm missing. So inside the event, I'll try passing a string like that, and as I recall, this was supposed to be to do ID, and for debug's sake, let's see if that does anything. Network update. It's still getting the to do ID, but I'm a little bit perplexed why completed isn't showing, yet it is posting here. You see post data, and we're posting post data, which is very curious. So let's test it a little more. Let's say test equals 1, and I'm just going to do a print R of post to see what we get, and I'll go ahead and refresh the page and complete. Update to do, and it has the to do ID. Okay, so now I know I'm doing something wrong because I'm passing in all of this stuff. Okay, so I paused the video for a moment. It looks like I'm making a very amateur mistake. This needs to be to do update. So I'll go ahead and try that. Refresh complete. And yet it's still posting it. Let's see what the class name is this. Oh, I gave it the wrong class name too. To do update inside of our template. It's always the little things. Complete network. There we go. Now it's posting both of them. Well, the good news is you're learning some tricks to debug, because I promise you will use them. Okay? So if that's completed, what we need to do is have a completed status. So let's see, we have a div ID of a to-do, and what we can do is add a class to this. So we'll go to CSS, style.css. Let's make something called to-do complete. We'll say color will be, let me find a nice colors. There are gray in here. B3, B3, B3. Okay. So I'll close out that. And I want to go to the parent of this div and add that class. So in this event, if it is successful, I'll say var self equals this, and I'm doing this so that I can access it inside the post. See, in this function, it's considered this right here. In this function, this would relate to the post. So I'll say self.parents div dot add class to do complete, and let's see if that works. Complete, and that worked, but it looked like it grabbed everyone above it. What if I just did parent self parent complete, and there we go, it comments that one out. Next thing we'll want to do is, if it is complete, we want to keep it undone like that. So here, what we're going to do is, if obj.completed equals 1, else, and let's cut this here, and we'll paste it there. And if it is completed, we'll just add a class of to do complete. And I'll go ahead and refresh. So they're all complete right now. We just want a incomplete button too. So what I'll do is this. I'm going to duplicate this line here. This is called to do update. I am going to change it to do complete, to do uncomplete. Okay. And the value for this will be 0. Okay. So I got to change a couple DOM elements. This one to do complete, and let me cut this guy out. Actually, in fact, we could just leave this to do update, and what we want to do is just change the value around. I think that's the smartest way to do it. Like that. Just leave it how it was, and what I'll do is this. If it's a success, then I'll say self.html, let's do uncomplete, and then we need to do self.attribute data completed is 1 or 0, sorry. So let's try that. Right now they're all completed, which is a problem, and we need to change the template as well again. So right here, if we could just copy this line right here. if the object is completed. Okay, we're just pasting this in here like we did above. Okay, exact same thing, except this will be a 0. Basically the opposite of what it should be. So if it's completed, this will be a 0 and this will be a 1. And this one will say whoops, incomplete. And back to the page, refresh, and incomplete. I'll have to refresh the page. Incomplete, complete. Okay, so the only other thing is when we click incomplete, it needs to remove the class. So it's a little bit tricky. So in events, let's see, we'll say if post data dot completed equals 1, we'll add the class of to do complete, and then we want to change the attributes. Else, we'll just copy this chunk. We'll say remove class to do complete and change this to complete and this to 1. Basically the opposite. Okay, and we can take these quotes off of these here. That was for debugging. Okay, so I'll go ahead and refresh. Incomplete, complete, incomplete. And always want to check the database, make sure everything looks good. So none are completed. And if we complete 3 of them, should have 3 records in here. Cool. The reason this doesn't show up is because it's for another user ID. Let me go back to the template. Now this code's quite a bit scary. So what we can do to clean this up is actually just use one output for it, but we'll set a variable. And what I'll say is this: var data completed equals, and we're going to do a ternary operator, and I'll say obj.completed equals 1. So if the object is completed, we want our template to show us the ability to incomplete. So we'll do 0 and 1. And then we're just going to pass this variable right here. Data completed. Okay. And let me refresh to make sure it works. Complete. Incomplete. Looks like we got it backwards. Complete. That's right. But if I refresh, it's still showing complete. So I didn't change the text. I believe that's the problem. So I'll make another variable called text. This will be incomplete, and this will be complete. And we'll take this variable and we'll paste them right in here like that. Let me close this so you can see it better. So this is a little busy, and there's a lot of room for improvement. Okay, incomplete, complete, 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 refresh. It looks like these have it the other way around. Incomplete, incomplete, incomplete. No, that looks right. Okay, cool. Before we close this video up, I want to show you Bootstrap, one little thing. So here's Bootstrap, and what we're going to do is go to Components, looks like Base CSS, and Icons by Glyph Icons. And these are really easy to use. So look for icon remove, that'll be good for our delete. So I'll just copy that text, and for my delete icon in the template, instead of the word delete, I'll have iClass equals icon remove. Okay. And for the complete, let's see. This one's a little tricky because that looks like a delete icon. And find something we like. I like this icon edit. So I'll take icon edit, and for complete we will use iClass equals icon edit, and to uncomplete looks like is there an undo anywhere? I'll just do a find for undo. Nope. Let me go back up. This share looks pretty good for an undo icon. I do wish it was going in the other direction, but no big deal. So we'll go here, and for uncomplete we'll say iClass equals icon share alt. And let's see our events. Yep, we're going to have to add here. So iClass equals icon share alt. And the name for our other one was icon edit. You could put whatever you like here. So I'll go ahead and refresh. And this would be to complete it. This would be to undo it. I think I'm going to change that to check because that's dog ugly. So icon OK. So instead of icon edit, I'll say OK here. And in the template, we'll say OK there, and click the two disks to save all files. Refresh, undo, boom, 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 boom. And we don't need this annoying thing at the top for this, so I'm going to go ahead and release this from the result if it's a success. So refresh, good, good, undo, undo, delete. Okay, looks good.